He's given an interview, I think, this morning to Bild, the German newspaper, in which he essentially calls upon Volodymyr Zelenskyy, and I quote, to get his act together, suggests that Russia has the upper hand in peace negotiations and that Zelenskyy needs to start accepting things. Not exactly the language you'd expect, Phillips, from a FIFA Peace Prize winner.
Well, actually, I think it's quite refreshing that he's just actually speaking his own truth. This is his view. We've been dealing for months with so much BS, James, about people thinking, oh, Trump might help Ukraine. Trump will be tough on Putin. And Trump actually feeding this nonsense by saying, oh, maybe I'll send tomahawks. All of that was a lie. But people bought the lie. I actually like the fact that they have the national security strategy out there. And we have Trump saying, Zelenskyy, you're in trouble, get out. We want to settle the war in Putin's favor, which is what he's saying, because that's what he believes. Yeah. And it means that Europeans can't pretend that somehow the U.S. is on their side and that the U.S. will get a good deal for Ukraine. The Europeans now have to accept the U.S. is actually an impediment to Europe, is a threat to European democracy, and they have to act to look after their own interests. So I actually like these comments. I'm glad they're being said, and I want them to be amplified as much as possible.
Well, that's why you're here. Are they born of frustration? I mean, is the petulance now coming to the surface because Zelenskyy hasn't been bullied into accepting the terms laid down effectively by, let's not beat about the bush, the terms laid down by Vladimir Putin via Donald Trump's White House?
Absolutely. I mean, Trump had a deal with Putin. They worked it out, 28-point plan. Trump's view was that they could bully Ukraine into taking it. So far, the Ukrainians have not taken it. So now, of course, he makes the threats not to Putin, but to the Ukrainians, and specifically to Zelenskyy. We have to understand, Trump hates Zelenskyy. Yeah. He hates him personally. He wants Zelenskyy. Why? The Hunter Biden laptop. Remember, everything with Trump is personal.
Yeah.
So he views Zelenskyy as an enemy, that Zelenskyy didn't help him when he thought Zelenskyy should help him. So
this is when he tried to withhold federal aid from Ukraine because he wanted Zelenskyy to help him dig up dirt on Hunter Biden. I mean, again, those were the days, weren't they, when we were shocked by that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly where it comes from. That's why he has said, since he's become president the second time, one of his consistent themes is we have to have new elections in Ukraine. He and Putin are absolutely together on that because they both want to get rid of Zelenskyy.
For completely different reasons. Let me steer you, if I may, to the national security strategy, and I welcome your welcome of it, because, as you say, it strips away some of the fig leaves and camouflage that people have been hiding behind for whatever reason. But what is it designed to do? Why, for example, denigrate Europe, the whole of Europe, effectively? The demonisation of Europe, that doesn't have much electoral calculus back in DC, does it?
No, well, they actually think they're going to help people like Nigel Farage, like Marine Le Pen, like the AfD, like Viktor Orban. I mean, they view that these people are with them. Wow. And what they are signaling is the United States is with Farage, with the AfD. And so that they're going to try and actually interfere in European politics going forward. If you read the national security strategy, it is to interfere in European politics. Mm.
Well, Farage will be furious. Farage will be furious. He's on the record countless times on objecting to any American president. Oh, hang on, just the black one. It was just the black American president who wasn't allowed to interfere in European politics, wasn't it?
Yeah. I've not even seen Farage touch it at this point. So it's interesting to see
he's hiding at the moment because he's got questions to answer about telling Jewish children at school that they should have gone into the gas chambers, allegedly, and also, of course, his own close friend, protege, and party leader in Wales, currently in prison for taking bribes from a Kremlin stooge for saying things in the public space that, as far as I can tell, Nigel Farage has also said. But no one is suggesting for a minute that he's accepted any bribes from Kremlin stooges. So it is a statement of intent of interference.
Actually, absolutely. It does say the United States will try to work with parties that have their anti-immigrant, you might say white supremacist view in Europe. In their minds, they are saving European society, but they're very clear about it in the national security strategy. And Trump, by the way, has reemphasized that today when he's saying Europe is weak, Europe is being destroyed by immigration. He particularly mentioned London as being, a source of weakness. So they're entirely open now about what they believe.
And just to flip it, if I may, to return to the question of why, because I suppose, let me rephrase it, what's in it for him when he does that? So I can't imagine, despite his own leanings towards bigotry and ancient prejudices, he's much more transactional than that. What does he win from creating this context, from this environment?
He destroys the European Union, which he believes is a competitor to the USA.
Right.
What was also very clear in the national security strategy is they don't want to work with the European Union.
Yeah.
They want to work with, quote unquote, individual sovereign European states. They want Europe to break up. And they believe that will greatly amplify U.S. power and make the Europeans dependent on them, because they still want the Europeans to do things like buy American weapons. This is the benefit for the U.S. They want Europe to buy a lot from the U.S. They just don't want Europe to be a competitor to the U.S.
Not to have any heft. Not so all quid and no quo, as it were, and a supplicant trading partner rather than a comparable trading partner. Is there anything on the more political level? Because the EU, which is an imperfect institution, as everybody knows, but it's a heck of a lot better than most of the obvious and available alternatives. Rules-based, accountable, transparent, all of the things that Trump seems to hate. A power and all of the other big powers on the planet at the moment are closer to totalitarianism than they are to democracy, the ones that he admires most, like China and Russia. Does the EU pose an ideological threat to Trump as well?
I mean, that's what the national security strategy says. Yeah. It's open. The EU absolutely poses a threat to doing business. And the national security strategy is very clear. There are no ideals in foreign policy. Yeah. Things like democracy, freedom, they shouldn't matter. That it's all in a way a zero-sum game. It's who makes the most money is the definition of success. And they look at the EU and they see something that is an impediment to that, and also something that is, in their mind, weak, and they can crush it. This is where European leaders have performed so disastrously by sucking up to Trump for 9 months now. They have debased themselves. Yeah,
especially Stalin.
And they're paying the price now because he views them as weak.
Because it's like trying to feed an insatiable appetite, as if we just throw him enough bones, then perhaps he won't chew us up, or at least he won't come for us. But of course he will. So the best thing you should be doing is getting your retaliation in early, getting it in first.
The best thing is what the Canadians have done. Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is Canada's closer, and it has been far more robust in defending its own position than Europeans.
And one of the first fronts in this war, which, as you say, is now out in the open, will be online legislation. I think will be telling the tech bros to sling their hook or to sort their own house out.
Yep. I mean, they hate European legislation against U.S. high-tech companies. They just hate content protection and any kind of ability to regulate the kinds of things that are reported and shown. So, I mean, that's what they're coming for now, and that's why it's been sort of pushed by people like Elon Musk, who has been on a very anti-EU crusade for a number of days now.
Yes, indeed he has. So, final question. What does failure look like? From their point of view, I mean, what should we be looking for as optimists, as glass half full merchants? What would
the optimist is Europe comes together,
right,
on a range of issues, acts together to defend European interests, and I would say the big one is they come together to help Ukraine.
So
I think what Trump wants is European states to bully Ukraine with him to take a very bad peace. So he's hoping that European states pressure the Ukrainians to give up territory, accept the secondary status, and destroy their future. The good result is European states, they don't tell Trump to stuff it. They don't yell, they don't insult Trump. They just say, no, we are going to look after our own interests. You look after U.S. interests. That's fine. That's what you're going to do. But we're looking after our own interests, and we're going to do what we want, and we're going to help Ukraine.
It's quite a big silver lining, potentially, were that to be realised. I mean, not just in the context of Ukraine, but in the entire context of NATO. I didn't get you on in the first hour, Phillips, because I didn't want you to kill my phone in stone dead by saying all of the things that you've just said with such clarity and insight. But do you still have pinch-yourself moments? I mean, this is a conversation about a United States president siding with the Kremlin against Europe, and most obviously against the United Kingdom, the oldest and the staunchest ally.
the pinch point, it's more moments that I can't believe we were having discussions even a few days ago, would Trump help Ukraine?
Yeah.
So it's more that people have willfully accepted fantasy.
Yeah.
And European leaders have accepted fantasy for such a long time. And that's what's driven me nuts, is that we've had, I mean, I don't know, James, you and I have had this discussion for a year. It's like, no, Trump is not going to help Ukraine. He is not going to break with Putin. And finally now I think that message has gotten through. So the pinch me moments are, this is good. That's why I'm happy with this, because it's settling the issue, I hope.
When did you first realise that? Have you known that from the very, very start?
Yeah, I mean, I was saying it before Trump's election.
Yes, I thought you were.
Yeah, because
so you're the least
Trump,
surprised man in the world of strategic studies at the moment.
Because this is what he is. He likes Putin. He wants to work, and he was saying it loud and clear with things like picking J.D. Vance as his vice president. Yeah. If he wanted any example of what he wanted, it was the selection of Vance. Vance is openly pro-Russian in his orientation, anti-Ukrainian. There was no mystery about any of this. The weird thing is why people chose to believe nonsense when there was nothing to it. And I think it was a combination of fear and dreaming.
Yeah, that's a good question, why people chose to believe what will soon be unanimously accepted as obvious from the very start. Phillips, thank you.